Whew. Alrighty. I too really appreciate your help. That we're live. Hello. Are we live? Did this work? Is this working? You will let me know in the chat if it's working. Oh man. What a nightmare. Ugh. So finally I think my internet is working somewhat reliably. Oh no. Okay, no, it should be good. Okay. Whew. So, just a little story time up front on the stream. Thank you all for being so patient. It is great to be here on Self Care Sunday, although that series of phone calls definitely put my blood pressure in the needing more self care Sunday. But that is mostly because of my awful internet provider, Optimum Online. Optimum, you're the worst. You're slumlords of the internet. I literally can't change to anybody else. They're the only people I can use for my area, and they make me sad. They make me sad because I am never getting the speeds that I'm supposed to get. Apparently, I was supposed to call in the second that I noticed that. And because I didn't, I'm not eligible for a credit. And yeah, anyway, you guys in the chat are amazing. There's something that I wanted to say. Oh, where are you? Casey Smith, it's your birthday. Happy birthday. I saw that. And yeah, it's really great that you guys are all here. Oh, Oscar, that's so sweet of you. Waiting an hour, it means a lot. And you know what? It's okay. At the end of this year, I'm probably moving, and I'm probably going to move to a place where there isn't Optimum Online, so I can get off of their serfdom, or tithe. I don't quite know the historical metaphor, but the one where I pay way more than I should for what I get. And I hate being in that situation because I like don't like being angry on the phone to people who have no say over like why I'm mad. And so it's just like I'm like trying to channel my like productive rage at this corporation to have it work for me and to like have extraordinary customer service be amazing, because every time I've dealt with Apple, I like have an amazing experience in the end. And sometimes there's some weirdness, but like it always ends positive. Whereas with my cable company, it never ends well. It just like it ends fine. And I just like loathe to call them back. So anyway, whew. Deep breath. Happy Mother's Day! I wish my mom weren't on a train right now, or I would call her. We've been texting. But she might call later. But yeah, Mother's Day is one of my favorite days, because my mother is one of my favorite people. And the thing that I think is important about moms is they make everyone possible. So yeah, I think my parents were involved with a couple nonprofits when I was younger that sort of tattooed into my brain the truth that if you want the world to work, make it work for women. And there's just a ton of research to show that when you empower women in your culture and society and world, that it improves. You see infant mortality rates drop. And just like everything gets better. And so I think Mother's Day is an awesome day to say thank you for our lives. And, and obviously there are exceptions to the rule, especially as technology advances. And there's more and more people who may not have moms, but I think most of us do. And in honor of that, Shout out to all the moms. Okay. So yeah, this is American Mother's Day. I see in the chat there's some people freaking out because it is not Mother's Day in other places. It is in Brazil, it looks like. More you know. But it's most of Europe's Mother's Day today, but not Irish. Huh. Now you know. Cool. So great to be here today. So what are we doing today? Well, first, we're adding Tiffy Cam and doing a little update on Tiffy. So Tiffany got oral surgery last week. This little cat. And yeah, she's been uncomfortable. She's been healing, and she's a super trooper, and she's been slowly but surely getting better. I did a feeling that I was not prepared for, and yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where we've been giving her painkillers, which helps. We got to get more because I'm out. But yeah, I don't know. She seemed a lot better early on when I brought her back, and then kind of took a dip. I think she's going to be fine, but I'm keeping an eye on her. 2 eyes. They call me the helicopter cat dad, so... and by they, I mean my vet and the lady who helps me work with the family to pay her medical bills. So, yeah. The internet sends you virtual hugs, Tiffy. Cool. You guys the best. So... Oh, God. Fuck. I see in the chat that there are buffering issues. Damn it. Yeah, it looks like my internet is doing its thing of being bad. I think Optimum might have heard my curses and is taking revenge. Everybody, feel free to tweet at Optimum anything that you think would be appropriate for this. So yeah, a couple things I wanted to share with you. Yeah, it looks like it bounced back. It's probably going to be roller coaster like that as we go. Cool. So I wanted to show you some tech stuff. Let's see how this works. If we do this. Whoa! Welcome to the internet. So this is Omni Studio. I've been doing Focused as Fuck, the daily talk show podcast, and it has been going super duper well thanks to y'all. It's been so much fun. It's just amazing to like read the reviews that are coming in. Oh my god, and there are more of them. So yeah, it's just been amazing to see all of this kindness and love coming in on the internet through the iTunes reviews. My new game is like basically for every 100 ratings on iTunes, which doesn't have to be a review. Reviews are extra. It's like writing like a paragraph. But yeah, for every 100 ratings that I see, I flip out and we'll do another month. Flip out in a good way. Good flipping. Oh, super great, Emir G. That's an awesome plan to binge this show when you get internet back. Awesome. All right, so that's one thing that's been going on. It's just super cool to see. I think maybe you'll get a kick out of this. One sec. I'd love to show you. So I switched over from SoundCloud to Focus, to Omni Studio, which is just for hosting the podcast. And you can do this cool thing on it that I think you might get a kick out of. So let's say I want to go to an episode and be like, where's a good quote? Anybody who listened to Focused.af, Nizzy Holloway, Rhinoceros Rex, anybody want to like give me a favorite moment that would be like a good sound snippet? And I can show you guys this feature. I'll think about it while I wait to see if anybody has anything in the chat. But to answer Rhinoceros Rex's question, yeah, I'd love to answer how you're sleeping like a normal human now. Yes, I am. I've gotten 7 hours of sleep every night for the last week. I've changed my strategy, so unfortunately the episodes aren't up first thing in the morning, especially for the UK crew. I know now it's at night, but I basically will only edit an episode in the morning, afternoon, so that I can launch it in the afternoon, evening, so that I am not starting the episode late at night. And spoiler alert, the bulk of this episode is going to be me editing an interview and showing you what it's like to actually create an episode of a podcast. So yeah. That was really great to be getting sleep all week. Doesn't mean that I've gone to sleep. I just slept until 11. And so, I basically am enforcing a rule on myself where I need the opportunity to get 7 hours of sleep. So whether it's I just lie in bed staring at the ceiling for 7 hours, that's like up to the fates of sleep. But I need to get more sleep. And so I need at least 7 hours in bed in darkness, no matter what. And like the next step is to try to get... Routines are hard for me with like all the things that I'm trying to juggle, but anyway, we're working on it. I saw somebody asked, where that question? Somebody asked, they're not familiar with Focused.af and want a rundown. And I'd love to give that person that rundown. And I'm just seeing who that was. Heathcliff. I don't know Focus.af. Can anyone give us a brief rundown? Yeah. I would be thrilled to. So Focus.af is a daily podcast, a talk show, not an audio drama, that I started on my 27th birthday on April 9th. And it's a bit of a variety show. There's some rants that I do. There's some interviews that I have with other people. There's some guided meditation tapes. There's some sketch comedy with Wolf 359 characters. There's a bunch of different little segments, some poetry, some original music from myself and friends. It's really a grab bag of content. The idea is that it comes out every day, and the joke of it, it's called Focused as Fuck, and the reason it's called Focused as Fuck is because I've been haunted by the command of focus as somebody who's been attention deficit. I know somebody corrected me in the reviews. Apparently, attention deficit disorder is no longer a diagnosis. It's all ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and then there's the inattentive type, which I am, but I'm probably just going to call it ADD for short. But yeah. Oh, interesting. So Love Kirby Forever just posted a little bit about the episode where I talk about my dating life, and complain about online dating a little bit. And so maybe that would be a good one. And that really helped that there was a number, I believe. Maybe there wasn't a number. Because Ryan Mulgrew has a number, EP30, Focus.af, got me out of a really bad slump. Number 30. So I'm just going to go in there and show you this feature that this thing has, which is one of the reasons I like Omni Studio.
Hi! This is Doug.
Oof, that sounds messed up.
Eiffel, Dr. Hubert, and Zach Valenti. Yeah, we know you're having a shitty couple of months. Right now, you want to hear "It's Darkest Before the Dawn," scrapes and cuts you've kissed, the monsters you've chased away, movie nights. Look at your wife. Remember the smell of her hair?
That was too loud, you guys.
The smile, the fact that she keeps you upright and grounded. And now, think how they'd be without you. Not pretty.
Let's say I want to take this clip and make a shareable little thing, because there's a full episode here.
Won't matter? Like everything you do is pointless?
Aw, Oscar, that's so great. I love that you're psyched about this. Oscar in the chat is saying they're psyched to be here, even though it's like 10:30 p.m. and they have to get up at 5:30 a.m. I do hope you get some sleep. This will be here later, so you can always check it out later. Alrighty, so yeah, what I like about this is I can go in, and then let's say I just want to grab that first bit.
Hi! More than just that person would like. Until tomorrow. Just that person would like to hear. That person would like to hear.
Alrighty, so then we can save the changes and call this, let's see. Details. Okay, so we can rename it something like, let's move this over, zoom this out. Oh, how a bit of motivation. From Yeah, the internet is bad right now. So if you guys are having a lot of trouble with the lags, it's because of my internet provider, and feel free to direct any feedback you have to Optimum Online. Optimum Online. In fact, while I wait for this video, would appreciate better service in my zip code 11207. My area in Brooklyn. Looking forward to the new modem you're sending. Wish it could be expedited.
Right now, you want to hear "It's Darkest Before the Dawn" from Batman. We're not going to tell you that. But take a look at your boys. Remember their hugs?
Is that
their
better,
kisses?
you guys?
The scrapes and cuts you've kissed, the monsters you've chased away, movie nights? Look at your wife. Remember the smell of her hair? The smile, the fact that she keeps you upright and grounded. And now, think how they'd be without you. Not pretty. Take a deep, cleansing breath.
That, and I can post it to Facebook.
It's gonna be okay. Because it's okay to be scared. But they need you. So focus. Make a plan. Pull a dory. And just keep swimming. You know someone suffering from depression or a mental health concern? Sometimes just saying hi can make all the difference in the world. What you just heard is one of the Patreon rewards for Wolf 359. For a certain backer level, I'll read a 200-word script for whatever folks send, so long as it's not like hate speech or anything weird like that. And this was a really sweet one for someone who I know from Twitter is not having a great time. And I thought that this might be something
the audio jumps
more than just that person would like to hear.
All right. I am Zach Valenti. Excuse me. Hopefully, somewhere, a new video. May take a while to actually get posted. But yeah. Anyway, that's something that I thought you guys might appreciate. I'm working on, ooh. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Oh my God. So in the chat right now, just to come back for a sec to that. Whoa. Marietta and Lyra S. met in the chat, I believe, here on my channel. I mixed them up like 2 weeks ago, and it turns out Marietta, who's given me some great advice on Tiffany when she's been sick, and Lyra, who always has done a great job with, for these videos, you'll see after it goes live, like time codes you can skip around. Turns out they're both synesthetic, or have synesthesia, which is a really awesome, what do you call it? What do you call it in the chat? And like, what does the internet say? Synesthesia is the production of a sense impression relating to one sense or part of the body by stimulation of another sense or part of the body. So it's like, for some people, the ability to see sounds or hear colors, or it's so cool. Oh my God. And then Oscar in the chat has chromesthesia as well. Man, so awesome. Wow. It's a brain condition, more or less. So interesting. Anyway, that's a little bit about that. Yeah, involuntary connection of two senses. Super duper neat that there's like a synesthesia club in this chat. I found that amazing. Yeah. Different way of sensing the world, Marietta. Well said. Yeah, I always would have loved to have that. One of my favorite musicians. What are they? What is their name even? It's like J.K. Snow. I think it was called Verse Snow was like the album. I'll have to look that up. Anyway, one other thing that I wanted to share with you guys this week, because, yeah, it's probably going to be a shorter episode because of the problems with have some guests on that couldn't make it. So we're doing something else. We're doing it live. I wanted to show you guys. You're going to be the first to see an exclusive new thing that I'm working on that shocked my roommate when he. It's something I'm working on, and I don't know where it is. Do I have stories? Is that where? Great. Yeah, I have a draft of a Medium post that is in the works. So yeah, why don't we flip over to that? So this is really for anybody who's ever wanted to start a podcast. I have finally sat down and turned this email that I've had as sort of like a canned response, because I get so many questions about like voiceover and about podcasting, that I finally more gigantic blog post. And yeah, it's just ridiculous. It literally took me 6 hours to write. And from like 10 p.m. to like 4 a.m. And so, yeah, you're the first people to see this. I don't think I've landed the ending, and I probably should get permission from some folks to like embed tweets and stuff. But in the meantime, yeah, I'm really excited to have this be something in the world. So before we jump into, I was going to start editing. Ready for this? 1, 2, 3. Magic fingers. Whoa! I was going to edit an interview that I have with an incredibly generous person who spoke with me about, who I'll introduce in a moment, but who spoke with me about eating disorders, and in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, I wanted to finally sit down and edit this interview right. But yeah, so I'm working on this article called "So You Want to Start a Podcast." So I thought we'd take a sec, and if you guys have any questions right now in the chat, I would answer some of those. I know last week's episode was a little bit about that. But yeah, Eloise W in the chat, what you did is I am announcing a gargantuan about podcasting pending my mom fixing my grammar. And some other friends giving me some feedback. I hope that this didn't cut out. So yeah, what questions? Oh, Alexi Winter is signing off. Be well, feel better. But yeah, I just wanted to take a minute for, oh, yeah, take care of yourself, Alexi Winter. But Workman wants to know. Interesting you ask that. I actually didn't put that in here. I work on Mac. I think Mac and PC are probably the best platforms to work on, although there is some software out there for people who are using Linux, specifically Ardor, which that's a great point. Excellent option if you're using Linux. Pretty sure it's completely free for that platform. Thanks for asking. That's great. Any other questions? How do you find auditions for voice acting? Okay, so that's definitely outside the scope of this. I see Adelaide's just joining in the chat. I wonder how we can get the chat. And 1 second, I have an idea. How's that? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Adelaide is joining in the chat. Adelaide, welcome. Tiffy says hi and sends her best. So, we're talking about podcasting and voiceover. I'm working on a really insane blog post about everything you need to know to get started on a podcast, except for the content. Like, you need to come with what you want to talk about or what you want to do in terms of if it's an audio drama. It's not really about that, it's more about the technical stuff. There's a little bit of higher level thinking, but mostly it's like, all right, what mic do you want? All right, what software should you use? That kind of stuff. Like, what hosting service should you use? How would you go about making art for the thing, cover art? Which reminds me, if you're gonna make it yourself, I recommend using an 800 by 800 pixel canvas. You can always export a smaller resolution version for different sites. One second. Yeah, let's. Got a question from Nafi Demak. Is the subject, if the subject is podcast related, did anybody ask about background music? Yeah, I realize I didn't answer somebody else's question, who wanted to know, how did you find auditions for voice acting? I personally had an agent, and they would send me auditions, but I never actually booked anything through them. I've used sites like Voice123, Voice Bunny. Those are ways to do it, but you have to pay to get on them. So it's very hard to get auditions without spending money, either to take classes to get exposed to casting directors, or to pay for one of these pay-to-play sites that's like a marketplace that will expose you. I know Kristen DiMercurio from Ars Paradoxica has an account on Fiverr.com, and that's a popular way to get some work. I don't recommend Fiverr just because they don't pay very much, and the work is less creative, but it is a way to probably pay for a mic if you wanted to do one job at a time and were able to get a decent enough mic to start out with. But it is going to take a while. So yeah, that is that asked and answered. Let me take a look. So that was one question. Somebody asked about, what was the other question that I had? Right. Ripping music such as from YouTube. So here's the thing about music is you can probably get away with ripping music. And how you would do that technically is with an app called pego.co. I do need to tell you that you can get into trouble just stealing music if it's not specifically Creative Commons, which is a form of copyright, or if you have written permission from the artist who created it. And then you should probably get a what's it called? A higher resolution, higher bitrate file from the artist themselves than ripping it off YouTube. But if you really need to steal something, that's how you do it with pego.co. And I like freemusicarchive.org for music. They're really explicit there about what you can and can't use stuff for. And you can actually even contact the artist if you have further questions in a lot of cases. So freemusicarchive.org. If you've been listening to Focused.af or Focused as Fuck, my daily show, I use that a lot. Aw. Emir G, that's amazing. I just see people using a really embarrassingly sweet hashtag. So yeah, that's how I get music. I also have a lot of friends that are musicians that I'm starting to reach out to more for music. And I can make music mostly in my podcast because I haven't had the time to sit down and like open up Ableton and really dig in with that. I've done like some songs where I'm whistling because I have magic whistling powers. Like, anyway, um, that was the Whistling Caruso from the Muppet movie, which is one of my favorite movies. I love the Muppets. Free Music Archive is great. Archive.org has a bunch of free music, which is a different database. And actually, YouTube has a section. One second, I can go to that part of this. Music. That's a chicken, a rooster that they had in a radio station. So yeah, I actually will pay for music if I need it. Audio Jungle has some good cheap ones. Soundsnap.com is great for sound effects. I think I pay like $30 a month for an infinite thing, like an infinite subscription. And Pond 5 is the more premium one where we use for Wolf, $3.59. But that might be overkill. So yeah, that's the YouTube audio library. YouTube.com/audio library is a great resource. Pros and cons of the Blue Yeti. So the Blue Yeti is like the beginner mic that I was recommended when I was first starting out in voiceover, and it's what I recommend to people. It's relatively affordable at $100. It is really easy to use as a USB device, so it's an all-in-one system. You don't need like an audio interface which pulls in stuff. So yeah, so I really recommend that. Yeah, and so that is great. One of the greatest musicians in the world, Etris Hunt, aka Meyer Poix, and I probably should. How would I get in touch with Etris Hunt, aka Meyer Poix? Piox? Poix. Nafé de Mac. The floof is moving. She just wants love. Do you want your belly scratched, or do you want to be left alone? This little cat. Side note, I'm thinking about letting these videos live a little bit longer on my channel before I hide them. And I hide them because it gives me some freedom to sort of experiment more broadly. And I intend to cut out the interviews out of them and make them as permanent videos with all the stuff around them sort of as a private thing. So that's something that I want to do, but I haven't had the time to edit them out. So I'm thinking about letting each one of these Self-Care Sunday videos live for like a month, like 4 weeks, so more people have a chance to check them out before they disappear. And my hope is that I'll start making some ad revenue with the podcast soon so that I can pay an editor to take the time to edit out the interviews, if you see how I'm thinking. So anyway, that's a thought. Oscar is getting 2 mice tomorrow and was going to name them Bubble and Gum. That's pretty great. I really also like the suggestion from Rhinoceros Rex that they be called Price and Carter. I'm a big fan of Pinky and the Brain, so call me old-fashioned. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Aw, Tiffy, they love you. And I want to scratch your belly, but I think you're going to attack me if I try. Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Okie dokie. Last questions about podcasting and stuff. Ooh, Rhinoceros Rex. I really want to do some voice acting, but not having training, get real anxious, trying out for stuff. Yeah, I would say, and I think this is the same question kind of as Marvin Olson. They're related for sure, is how do you get over hating the sound of your own voice? So I think for me, the biggest thing was just like diving into the deep end and just recording a lot of myself and listening to a lot of myself and editing a lot of myself. Like having to do five auditions a day for like over a year when I was first getting into voiceover. Yeah, would be kind of nuts and good in the sense of I don't know. It would be good for me, I think. Good for you. It was good for me. It was weird. Well, I just had a huge brain fart. Having to do a ton of those auditions and self-record and self-edit got me used to the sound of my own voice. What it also did was that I didn't realize was entrench some bad habits because I'd worked on a radio station. So I'd been doing this all the time. And so none of my auditions sounded like a real person because they just sounded like a radio machine man. And that's not what people were booking for. That's not what people wanted. So I recommend self-recording, and I recommend playing them for people in your life that watch a lot of television and asking them, like if you're trying to do commercial work, asking them to compare it and give you feedback compared to the kinds of commercials you think your voice is good for. Like sandwiches or liquor or cars. I know I'm more suited just because of the voice that I naturally have. Is more suited for like alcohol and like premium products like cars. I can't sell people sandwiches really unless they're going for a gimmicky thing where it's like, the announcer voice as part of a joke that they're doing. Mitzrayim wants to know flies. Pros and cons of one person podcast versus ensemble. So I think there are a lot of pros to acting against a real other person. And I'm somebody who wanted to do a show as only me as an actor. But it really helps to play against somebody live. And that's not something that I knew getting into Wolf 359, having not acted a ton. It gives you somebody to react off of. So I think you get a chemistry with ensemble. On the other hand, you don't have to worry about scheduling if it's all one person. So that's really convenient. Pros, cons. If you are trying to do it for money, like if you're trying to make a living podcasting, it's going to get harder and harder the more people you work with because you're going to want to pay everyone. So number one, don't get into podcasting for the money. Number two, if you're not going to do number one, keep in mind that every person that you bring on is another paycheck you need to write. Unless they're willing to work for free, which is why I think a lot more podcasts are talk shows than audio dramas. Yeah, there's a thought. Cool. So I'm going to switch gears and jump into editing some stuff. I have this episode of Focused.af that I want to work on. And let me see if I can make myself smaller so that you can see me while still seeing what I'm doing. Okay. Tor Run H. I get my sound effects personally from SoundSnap. For Wolf, we use Pond 5, and you're going to get what you pay for. SSM, there's no rules except for the, like, sort of limits of legal minimum wage in your area, although even that is kind of iffy for acting. Like, you can do sort of bulk rate, like a bundled packaged rate that ends up coming out to less. Anyway, you'll have to look up the legal ramifications of underpaying people, but I think I get paid like 20 an hour, and only for recording on not Wolf. We don't get paid for Wolf right now, but that's something that anyway. Some of this stuff is like we'll talk about eventually. With Wolf, we're like working out sort of like a profit split model, and which is like one day we'll profit. We're not profitable yet, but we're on track to by the end of the year. But yeah, with one of the other shows I'm on, Under Pressure, it's like $20 an hour, but not for the rehearsals, only for the recording. So anyway, it's just interesting to know. I think I would just be clear with your people up front if you can't pay them and still want to work with them, and then it's their choice. And just know you'll have trouble keeping people on board that way. But you might also get lucky, because I think people really want to work on stuff like this. So yeah, cool. So I just made myself smaller. Let's make Tiffy a little smaller, maybe. And the chat, I think, can be a little smaller. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe not. We'll just leave that. Yeah. Alrighty. All right, let's see if this is too loud. Can you hear this even? Just want to see if you guys can hear this.
I've read a couple of things that are like, people think eating disorders are the person's fault. They can just start eating whenever, when really it's not. And it's very, and people don't really know how they work. They think it's focused a lot around weight and body image, which it is.
All right. So this is an interview that I'm editing right now. Slowly.
And then the next year, I had been struggling with some eating disorder.
Cool. So this is on Instagram, MLM Louise. We've been chatting, and this is an interview that we got a couple weeks ago about eating disorders. So we're gonna dive into that. And I really, unfortunately, only have about 20 more minutes to work on this. So yeah. So this is how I edit an episode of Focused.af.
I got through my first year and it was really great. I love NYU. And then the next year, I had been struggling with some eating disorder behaviors, and everything just kind of went downhill. So this year, I had to go home, and I did a bunch of programs, including like a residential program and one that was like 3 days a week. And so a lot of that was like different types of therapy, and a lot of it included mindfulness, which was super helpful in helping me to sort of connect my mental health and my physical health, which is something that I hadn't really thought were too connected before. but it ended up being really important to a lot of people around me who are dealing with other things, including like PTSD and stuff like that. And I'm doing way better now. I think I have, and doing way better now. I think I have been around me who are dealing with other things, including like PTSD and stuff like that. And I'm doing way better now. I think I have been
Yeah, if you guys have
recovery
questions, I'll keep my eye on the chat.
Really quick rate, which I'm very happy about. But yeah, in terms of what I like to create, I am a film major, but I am really interested in sound. So I love sound design, and I want to get into radio. But NYU used to have a radio program connected to their film program, and they don't so much anymore.
That's awesome.
So that's mainly what I do.
That's awesome. So I guess. No. Come on.
So
Alicia Workman, I am using Adobe Premiere.
As far as my experiences go, and compared to other things, people are.
I realize the chat is probably annoying in this situation.
More open to
if I do
things like
that,
depression and anxiety, since they're more, you know, mental illnesses that people kind of know a little bit about how
the story sort of leads. This is Adobe Audition.
Yeah, so I mean, people are pretty, as far as my experiences go, and compared to other things, people are more open to.
I got it.
To things like depression and anxiety, since they're more, you know, mental illnesses that people kind of know a little bit about how they work. I've read a couple of things.
I may have updated my version.
It looks like somebody's just start eating whenever, when really it's not, and it's very. And people don't really know how they work. They think it's focused a lot around.
Yeah, somebody is saying they
weight
use
and body image, which it is. That's a big part of it.
Oh god,
but
it's a bigger fly.
It's also, I think, that have eating disorders that haven't dealt with other types of mental illness. So a lot of an eating disorder.
Moon, you should really write at Wolf359 Radio on Twitter for that permission to do a Wolf359 spinoff. Or Gabrielle directly. I'm all for that sort of a thing, but that's something that we need to decide as a group, and I'm not free right now to ask them, so I would just hit them up on Twitter at Wolf359 Radio, or you can message Gabrielle. But yeah, do it.
In my experience, something that kind of happened to me was my parents didn't have a lot of experience with mental illness. They didn't really think eating disorders are the person's fault. They can just start that are like, people think eating disorders are the person's fault. They can just start. I've read a couple of things that are like, people think eating disorders are the person's fault. They can just start eating whenever, when really it's not. And it's very and people don't really know how they work. They think it's focused a lot around weight and body image, which it is. That's a big part of it. But it's also, I think, that have eating disorders that haven't dealt with other types of mental illness. So a lot of is using it as a skill to deal with depression, using it as a coping skill to deal. Yeah. So in my experience, something that kind of happened to me was my parents didn't have a lot of experience with mental illness. They didn't really just made them angry that, yeah, there wasn't a better option that was closer to me.
Got it. They weren't angry at you, they were angry at the system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be too. That's so stupid that
Hmm.
there's not something in every location, but I guess that's sort of the state of the medical system in the United States, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just starting to learn about it because as I'm having to figure out health insurance for the first time myself, it's like such a nightmare how expensive it is, how little basic plans cover.
Well, actually, before I ended up going to that group, I had to go to, this is kind of where things went really downhill, even though it's already sounds pretty bad.
Yeah,
And this
MRG, I'm
kind of
working
ties
on a
into
episode
the
of
way
Focused.af.
eating disorders are kind of affected by outside stuff. I remembered quickly.
Right, but it feels like you
And vaguely keeping my eyes peeled for questions about
Exactly.
podcasting.
And so I just remember exactly. And so I just remember feeling so down in the depths and so hopeless. I went outside and called my friend. Felt like that was where things turned around for me. That felt like rock bottom to me.
Alicia
and I
Workman
really
wants to
wanted
know
to get
what
out of
type
there.
of classes you should take to get better at Premiere and podcasting. Well, if you're in the States, I don't know how, so there's a site called lynda.com, which is a great resource for e-learning apps. And one of the things that I found that's really useful is New York City, at least, New York State, with a library subscription, can give you free access to all of lynda.com, which is amazing. And so yeah, lynda.com is great for learning apps better. What else? What else? This interview, Cosmin, this interview was from April 19th, I believe. And if this is you, I wouldn't know because that's your username is Cosmin. Please do say hi. But yeah, I'm just editing this. So what I'm looking for is sound bites that will, like, I'm listening for context and the distinction between like contextual information and like sort of personal information. And like cut in as like late as possible to like something happening. Doesn't like, I think the point when people say like cut to conflict is like you need tension. You need something that's like engaging and like kind of grips you a little bit. So like I'll probably find a soundbite that's a good place to start that gets to the heart of what we're talking about. And then be like, that's the voice of a lot of, and like kind of go back and forth between her voice and my voice. To answer your question, somebody asked in the chat how I did this technically. So I use, that's so awesome. How I did this technically was with Loopback, this app, which lets you route sound from any device. So I basically grabbed the audio from Google Chrome and recorded it as a track in Audition. And you can do this with anything. This is $99. You can actually get another cheaper app called, what is it called? Audio Hijack. I think this is only for Mac. Yeah, if it's going slow, it's probably my end. My internet's been terrible. Sorry, guys. Bye, guys.
for grabbing audio from something like Skype.
Rogue Amoeba is proud to present Audio Hijack 3. Record any audio on your Mac from software applications.
And I just they have another one, and you can get like the pair if you want, but they have another one called Loopback that's really useful for looping back into another thing. Yeah, cool store. And the other thing that I'd recommend is this thing called, I have a whole section in this article that I'm working on about podcasting, about recording phone calls and Skype calls. There's this thing called Zencaster that's, I think, free to try, but $20 a month to get the premium version. And it makes it easy to just like record a ton of people on a single platform without using Skype or anything like that. So yeah. I don't know the microsecond I was born. This is the call that I had.
Can't connect to the internet. Is that right?
My upload speeds are incredibly inconsistent. That's the call that I had right before we started live streaming.
Ready to do something about getting better.
Right.
So I wanted to do that, yeah.
How much do you think it was the care that was provided, and how much do you think it was?
I think it was definitely me. Like I said, the way psychiatric wards work is different throughout, but mine did.
Willingness to participate.
Yeah.
Right. You demonstrated willingness to participate in your care.
Yeah, but I spent a lot of time reading in my room. I was only there for about 2 days, but it felt way longer. And actually, that was where I worked on a lot of. I'd been to a different group before where we had done like the only thing really keeping me from doing that was I would sit down. So
to get through that moment by moment.
So it was just, I was thinking about so many things. I was thinking, when can I leave? How can I get out of here? But when I was focused more on the other things. Yeah. So I wasn't there for too long. There were other people that were dealing with a lot worse stuff. And I definitely think, it was just the circumstances and the situation that caused it. And after that, did get better, but my depression did get better, but I think my eating habits are still not where they should have been. And so the first program where you basically stay there for my case, it was a really big house. And it was a different time.
Programs too.
Therapy and
exercise programs too.
A lot of people deal with exercise like addiction, so not so much. But we did a lot of yoga.
I know it's not necessarily cool. I feel like you have to be able to laugh at this stuff, and I just love that like one person's solution is another person's problem, and it's just like
it's so strange. So much of that.
Wow. Just because I'm so focused on mindfulness, I'd love to just take one more sec. Because I'm because I'm so focused. Was that the only effect of a distraction, or do you think there were other benefits?
Oh, there are definitely other benefits. I think the fact that your breath is something that's part of your body. It requires, when you breathe, you can feel it. You can feel it in your nose, on the back of your throat. You can feel it in your lungs. You can follow it all the way down and then back up. So you're focused on how you feel, which is especially important.
Take care of yourself, Eloise W.
Dealing with an
Get
eating
some sleep.
disorder, and you are self-conscious.
This will be here whenever you got time.
You want to completely get out of your body. sometimes you have to bring it back to focusing on how you're feeling physically. It also is helpful because my anxiety comes out in a more physical way. I have a hard time breathing correctly when I am experiencing a lot of anxiety. And so it can slow my breath down, and that kind of works backwards. If anxiety makes me breathe quickly, and then I decide to breathe slowly, my anxiety lessens.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. So if we could, just because I want to make sure that I have the timeline clear, could we just take a step back and come back to the house? And could you just go through the timeline again? So you're at school studying X, at what date, and then like that.
Yeah, so I was at school for a year last year.
So like on November, whatever it was, November what day is?
Yeah,
Day?
20th, 19th.
November.
Yeah. And then I think I came back like 2 days later, back home, and I went to
Good night,
the
Eloise
house,
W.
Yellow House.
Way to be responsible. Take care.
I'd completely forgotten about the election because I was focused on myself.
I'm gonna need to go in a couple
and
minutes too, so this is gonna wrap up really soon. I wish that
okay. Yellow House.
I wish that we had had more time.
At the
Yes, everyone, take care of yourself. Self-care Sunday would be nothing without self-care. Comment down.
Or other people are much skinnier, other people way less or do way more therapy. And so I think.
So you're in the car on the way back from the went good.
But yeah.
Did it change your perspective?
Doesn't help me either, but yeah.
Did it change your perspective on? Did it change your values? And I guess, was there any motivation in the results of the election? She wants stomach pats. Or did it make things worse?
I think it made things worse. Because it just added to that feeling of hopelessness that I had.
I don't think you're the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Cool. So let's go back to the house. So sort of fast forwarding a little bit. Workout addict is like cheating in the back. This little cat is the best.
Oh, so much. I think that was really what helped me. Being at Yellow
Pretty sure
House.
that was me purring at her, Alicia
so
Workman.
We had, first of all, it was just helpful just to be there.
I find it puts her at ease.
I'm here. I have to eat this food. I have to eat it on time. I
don't think you're the only one.
Yeah. And I knew he was. And same with yoga. There was drama therapy, which is my favorite. That was really helpful to a lot of people.
Super cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I realize that when I talk about meditation, like 90% of the population goes to like, oh, I know that stupid yoga stuff and like, the top of the mountain thing. And like, I think it's almost even better to I sort of used that for a while. But it's so funny. And so in some ways they're the same thing, but done there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, another thing about mindfulness, that I would eat anything, we'd say how we were feeling in that moment and what we were going to be mindful of during that meal. So sometimes it was, you would be mindful of like your pace, like how fast you're eating, if you had to eat faster or slower.
So great.
And a lot of times it would be a food.
I
So
love this cat.
I would sit down and be like, I'm going to be mindful of this oatmeal. And then you'd have an opportunity while you're eating your food instead of
All right,
rushing
guys.
through.
I would have loved to have more time with y'all. I would have loved to start on time, and not have had to deal with internet stuff, and had gotten to actually finish this episode of Focused AF. In light of this, I'm probably not going to ship this interview until later this week, but and do something else instead that's shorter. That's amazing. Nizzy Holloway in the chat. You come for Zach, stay for Tiffy. I believe that is true. Anyway, no regrets. Next week will be a more, which is, I really appreciate about a guest coming on time. This